Good morning, and joining us right now, it's time for Joe DiGenova. Joe, good morning.
Morning, Mary.
How are you?
Doing great.
Good. We have so much to discuss with you, so let's get right into it. Yesterday on CNN State of the Union, Jerry Nadler, who is the apparent future chair of the Judicial House Committee, said that his first act will be to subpoena Matthew Whitaker, the acting attorney general, to clarify his past comments about Mueller's Russia investigation. They're trying to get him to recuse himself or in some way get him replaced. Do they have a point? Are they right in what they're trying to do here because he has shown bias?
Well, no. Any type of public comment like that, which is minor when he was a private citizen, is perfectly appropriate. He didn't make those statements while he was a government official. He was hired as the chief of staff by the attorney general. No one in the Democratic caucus in the House or Senate complained about him being hired to do that. He's been in that position for almost 2 years. And under the Vacancies Act, the president appropriately appointed him acting attorney general. So this is all politics by Nadler and the Democrats, but that's what they're very good at. And they have since violated their pledge that they weren't going to conduct investigations. They were going to do the people's business, and now they're telling us it's going to be investigations all the time. That should surprise no one, but it doesn't change the legal fact that Mr. Whitaker is legally in the job as long as the president wants him there.
Now, Joe, you talk about his ability to do the job through the Vacancies Act. There's been some pushback from Democrats saying that he hasn't been appointed as a principal officer, confirmed as a principal officer. Is there any necessary confirmation process in order to have him as acting attorney general?
No, not under the Vacancies Act. He holds a senior position for more than 90 days. It's common understanding of the way the act has been interpreted is that anyone who holds a senior position, and certainly chief of staff for the attorney general is a senior position, that would work. Now, that doesn't mean that the Democrats aren't going to try and challenge it. Heavens, they might even go to court to do so. And we'll see. I mean, they are perfectly capable of anything now that they control one house of Congress, and they do have legal authority to do lots of things because they do control the gavel. They can certainly subpoena him, ask him questions. He can decline to answer any question he chooses to do so because he said it might influence an investigation. And he'll be very neutral in what he says if he does agree to go up and testify.
You know, the one question that I have when it comes to Whitaker is, could the Republicans then turn around and go, well, then Justice Ginsburg should recuse herself from anything having to do with this administration because of her comments, not always very nice, about President Trump?
Well, Ruth is a fascinating figure, and she said a lot of awful things about the President of the United States. Certainly, she has said many injudicious things about the President of the United States that would raise legitimate questions about her ability to be fair and impartial to the President or his administration. But as you know, you cannot get a Supreme Court justice to recuse him or herself. That's all self-imposed discipline. There's no one to tell them they have to recuse themselves. And so this will simply be an interesting discussion about her attitudes, but it won't change her ability to vote on any given case.
Joe, it's going to happen this week. It looks like Senator Chris Coons and Senator Jeff Flake, and Senator Susan Collins as well, and maybe others, are coming back to the Senate and saying, hey, you know what we're going to do? We're going to pass legislation to protect Bob Mueller from President Trump. Obviously, this is not going to go anywhere. It doesn't have the support of Mitch McConnell, but it is going to get a lot of attention in the press this week. What is your pre-buttal to that?
Well, first of all, it doesn't look like Mr. Mueller needs any protection. There's been a lot of discussion about him, a lot of criticism of him, a lot of criticism of his lack of production about proving that there was Russian collusion, which there hasn't been, and there's been no evidence of. Why it would be necessary to protect him at this point, given that from all published reports he appears to be preparing some sort of a memorandum to send to the Attorney General about what he's done.
Yes.
I think it's ludicrous. It's obviously unnecessary. Even if the Senate were to pass something and the House, the President would veto it, Mr. McConnell has indicated that it will not be given any floor time and it's not on his agenda. So this will be just political discussion. Nothing's going to happen in this area.
All right, let's move on to one of your favorite people in the whole world, James Comey. We found out through a FOIA request from the Cause of Action Institute. They filed the request for Comey's Gmail correspondence involving his work for the Bureau. There are approximately 1,200 pages of messages. 156 of them have been turned over. 7 emails were not turned over, refused because they would disclose techniques and procedures for law enforcement investigations or prosecutions. Another 363 pages were withheld because they discussed privileged agency communications. Is he off the hook there, though, because he testified that he only used his email account for incidental purposes and never for anything that was classified, which it sounds like that's technically true.
Well, let's put it this way. Mr. Comey, in fact, used a personal communications device to conduct government business. And the fact that some were withheld from disclosure under the Freedom of Information Act means that they involved serious enough government business that they could not be disclosed, or personal information. This is a continuing part of the James Comey narrative. Mr. Comey is still America's dirtiest cop. He remains, in his own mind, a giant and a figure of extreme importance in American history. However, he remains a disgraced former FBI director who was fired by the Attorney General of the United States, Jeff Sessions, who everybody in the Democratic Party now says was a great Attorney General who should not have been relieved of his duties, when 2 years ago they were saying that Jeff Sessions was a racist and a dumbbell and too close to the President of the United States. One thing that's certain about this entire story: you can always count on the Democrats to say whatever is necessary to make their position look good, which of course it never can. But Comey is, in fact, remains a disgraced, fired former FBI director, and there's nothing surprising in this news story about the fact that he used his private phone for official government business. But, all of this doesn't matter if, in fact, any investigation of Comey and the thieves at the top of the FBI is not being legitimately conducted. And as long as Rod Rosenstein is there at the department, which I'm not sure is going to be much longer, none of this is going to come to fruition. This will be the true test of Whitaker to see whether or not the work of anybody investigating the FISA abuse and everything is really a serious investigation.
Well, all this sensitive information in his email really colors in the lines on his statement on Hillary Clinton, by the way, remember? She should have,
That's right.
She should have known better, and this isn't prosecutable, right, everyone?
It was he was looking at himself while he was looking at her.
It's pretty amazing. All right, Joe DiGenova, thank you. Always appreciate your insights, sir.
You bet, guys.
All right, happy Veterans Day. Have a good week.